Well, it's a lovely story, and it's one that I really enjoy telling, which is we were having a strategic planning meeting and we were at Long Bay, and our Deputy Chair, Pat Snedden, went for a walk on the beach. And he came back from his walk, his lunchtime walk, and he said, "People, I've got an idea."
The thing that was just clear to pretty much everybody in the room, that the difference in performance of Māori and Pacific in the educational outcomes in New Zealand was so profoundly lower than the rest of the community that we thought that was a point to start with.
And he wrote on a whiteboard $20 million, and then he said, what if we tried to raise the level of Māori and Pacific children's achievement? What if we set aside this amount of money and just saw what we could do with it? And the whole room was just electrified.
It was a call by the trustees, and what amazed me is sometimes some of these decisions you make, they have huge financial implications, and yet they're made in a snap, just like that.
And remember, in 2006, this wasn't necessarily something that was top of mind for either the government or the public, but we'd been looking at stats around a number of measures, indicators, including, poverty and homelessness and child poverty.
And we asked ourselves a question, why is it that this should still be happening in New Zealand? And nobody really had satisfactory answers to that. Therefore we thought, well, if we were going to form a fund that might be innovative and transformative in some method, then finding the answer to that question might be a good way to propose a fund.
That was one area where we all had a common understanding, and it was very easy, I think, to make the decision. There wasn't any debate, against. There was all that understanding, and it just moved just like that.
Well, I think at the beginning, actually, we thought we would design something ourselves. I think we thought if we got 25 or 30 good brains into the room, we could design the solution. And what became really, really clear was that, in fact, there were many, many possible solutions. But I think in the end we felt we didn't have the mandate to choose that one without actually seeing what could come out of the community itself. And so I sat down with Kevin Prime, our then chair, and with Pat, and we designed a process where we would consult.
And go about a method of engaging with the Māori and Pacific communities about what they thought might be valuable and useful to them if we were to focus on education.
It was really quite refreshing to have something different that had a different approach totally, and that multi-year funding, that was something I think that really made a huge difference, and working in partnership rather than working towards milestones.
We knew that if we wanted innovation, we had to go out to different places and do it differently. We had to find the right leaders to back. We had to bring our reference groups along with us.
We had the first ever formal pulphery in the building. Probably 30 or 40 people came, and we just went through a process of consultation, starting with that very formal, culturally welcoming process, and then over the next 18 months had a series of consultation hui around the community. And it took us nearly 2 years before we were even ready to call for applications.
It was then a process of saying, right, we'll put this out to the public at large, having described what it was we were trying to do, and we'll see what comes from it.
And I can remember saying to Kevin, we'll be lucky if we get 100. And we got 350. And slowly, over quite a few months, we whittled them down to about 30. And at that point, we issued the call for full proposals. That whittled it down to a few more, and the final, I think, 10 were invited then to come and make full presentations to the committee, who then in turn recommended to the board.
Initially, those grantees were kind of waiting for the catch. It's like, oh, is this real? They're actually going to fund us. They're going to do capacity building. They're going to work alongside us. So it was really building the credibility with those groups, so spending time with them and helping them to, realise their dreams, put it all down, support them the best way we could, and just be with them so that they could kind of build that trust with us.
And it just was perfect for us. The initiative was to improve Māori and education outcomes, and we thought we had a compelling vision at the time, And we got enough people around us to support us and mobilise it.
We needed investment to allow our awesome senior teams and our researchers to really get a handle on our core business and the things that we can do. So that investment for us bought us the 3 years we needed so that we didn't have to go out finding funding just to keep them alive.
And so very early on we said to them, we will walk beside you. We will walk beside you for the 5 years of your grant, and we will make sure that you have the resources that you need to deliver. So we started what of course is now our Centre for Social Impact, but for this project we used independent consultants and sent them in. So we sent people in to look at governments, we sent people in to look at administration capacity, we sent them in to look at leadership, and then we would send in or put in the appropriate training or resources in order for the group to be able to get up to capacity.
We had a lot of passion within our small team at the time, and when we were given the OCV big folder of things that we needed to be completing for due diligence, and we quickly identified that we needed a lot more skill and expertise amongst our board and amongst our volunteers at the time. So we pursued those in our community who could help us, and that's when also the MPEI support was most invaluable. When you get to the point where you know what you don't know, then the next step is probably the most crucial.
So sort of hard at the beginning, really hard, and also the foundation trying to find the right people that could get us going at the beginning. So we talked to researchers, we talked to other agents, but once we got that sorted off, we were up and running.
Well, as in all projects, things change, and so that relationship and close kind of ability to be able to be honest with each other and reflect with each other was important. And that's what I mean. It's really, if you don't have a trusting relationship, you can't have those hard conversations. So when things did, there were times when I had to be a bit stern.
Again, I thought the foundation and with Moi and the people that she brought in and the other research team allowed us to share that load a little bit, but you still had to commit to that high trust relationship to get the result that you wanted.
The definite highlight was the opening of our school. It's quite when I think about it, it felt like an Independence Day for education for me. And yeah, I guess going forward after that opening day, it's just every awards evening that we have at the end of the year becomes just like this is the moment of the year we've been waiting for to celebrate the children and their whānau achievements. And every so often I get a wind or a story from a parent or one of our whānau educators just about a new milestone that a family has had. Just to see the growth in these children, it's quite amazing. Yeah, sometimes I have to pinch myself to believe that we've actually got our school and we're here.
The highlights were really around just watching the kids and as the years went by, seeing the results. And I remember the first one was Mutukarua, when I got a call from Barb Alalatoa, the principal out there, that said, Moi, the Ministry of Education are going to fund, they're picking up our project. They want it to be theirs. They're going to roll it across 10 schools next year. I couldn't believe it. You know, and that in itself had already proven that we were on the right track. Even if nothing else worked, the money had been well spent by getting that one done.
So I think what we've learned is that you have to have good data, and you have to fund things like this for at least 5 years. They have to be robustly evaluated, and then you need a really clear strategy for engaging with whoever you need to engage with, the Ministry of Education, the Minister, the Cabinet of the day. Because in the end, particularly if you're working in the education sector, you've got to be able to engage the government of the day in order to get things rolled out.
I think it's about trusting your groups, working alongside them, putting cultural frameworks in place, having the right staff there, building those relationships, of course. Funding for the long term, funding the evaluation from the beginning, funding the capacity building, trusting, and when the hard times come, sticking by them. Yeah, I think we learned all of those things. Yeah.
It's completely changed the way we do our grant making. So now we have a program called Catalysts for Change, which is totally the legacy project from MPEI. So 40% of our grants budget is now in what we call high engagement or venture philanthropy, where we make a small number of grants, large grants, to a small number of organisations over 4 or 5 years, but then as important as the money is the wraparound support that we're able to give them through CSI. But absolutely all the time we have to have metrics, we have to measure, groups have to understand that if they want to engage in this kind of philanthropy, we have to know what it is that we're trying to achieve. This isn't just regular service delivery.